and then I'll close the tube.
That's great. Got it. Okay. Mark, also, if you can onboard any other participants that come into the waiting room, that would be great. Really appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. So afternoon, everybody. Robert Hoken here, Greenbackers Investment Capital. And this afternoon's session, we'll keep it short and sharp, is patent box reclaims and what you really need to know. We're delighted to have GovGrant, who are experts in this space and who are going to give you their view on the ins and outs of how to maximize the opportunity. And our understanding is that for many UK startups and scale-ups, there's money on the table to be gained and recouped out of Her Majesty's government. Before I hand over to GovGrant and to Dominic and Ash, just a quick update, and in some cases a first pass for you at Greenbackers and what we're all about, and then over to GovGrant for their presentation. Just so that you know, we're recording this session. If you could all keep your microphones, aside from the presenters, on mute, we'll have the opportunity to ask questions, in which case you come off of mute as we get into the Q&A period during the closing remarks. So some of you, I can see some of you in the room who are actually Greenbackers clients, so welcome. For those of you who aren't yet, we are basically a program to connect companies to capital in the net zero climate clean tech blue economy, green economy space. And why are we all smiling on this photo is because we're on a mission. We're catalyzing investment needed, as I'm fond of saying, to build a sustainable society, one deal at a time. We've internationalized the program, so we have a footprint in North America, the UK, Western Europe, and South Africa. And really, these are our two significant audiences. You know, those on the left, these are ventures that we're supporting. You can see companies that are in our Greenbackers showcase, which will come to shortly. And on the right side, there wasn't enough room to put all of the funds that we are working with. Currently, about 150 funds on our showcase platform, all hungry and interested in good quality deal flow, which we have vetted through our program. This is what we've developed during the pandemic as a showcase platform, our basically our flagship, a deal room that allows companies to put an investment profile that we have helped them tune in front of active investors. Our super pitch program, which we run a couple of times a year, is going to culminate in a mega super pitch, if you will, at the COP 26 this November, on the 9th of November, actually. We also have a roadshow program for doing fully managed fundraisers, more of a handheld program, but most of our emphasis is on the deal platform. It's kind of like crowdfunding for a more professional funding audience. We qualify the funds as well as the companies, all professional investors, very few angels, individual angels, but angel syndicates, family offices, VC money, private equity, and the like. Feedback is very positive for many funds that are awash with pitch decks. This gives them access to curated similar experience presentation, deals with pitch deck, with video, with team information. It's been very gratifying, the response that we've been getting from investors on the platform. And as I said, this will culminate in a super pitch program. Some of you on the call are actually participating in this. We had a call for, had over 120 companies apply for 26 spaces that we are going to be having a live stream presentation on the 9th of November. You all get links to how to register for this event if you're already not participating in it. The last time we did something like this, we had 2,000 in our audiences, was insane. And we're looking to replicate that experience on the 9th. So join us, it's going to be amazing. We couldn't do what we do without the support that we get from our program sponsors, and one of the most active that we've had the privilege of working with is GovGrant. I'll let them introduce themselves, but I hope you get some strong benefit from the presentation that they're making today. And without further ado, over to Dominic and Ash to present. I'll stop sharing now and allow you to share as you like.
No problem. I'll just share my screen.
See that just fine.
Okay, fantastic. Dom, do you want to sort of take it from here?
Yeah, sure. And thanks very much for jumping on the call today, everybody. It's great to get the time to talk to you and spread the word a bit about Patent Box and also about intellectual property for really a more commercial end than people often actually use it for. So we're going to talk to you today a little bit about the intellectual property world through our lens and through the lens of investors and also portfolio companies that we've worked with, to give you a few case study examples of how other people have been successful. But before we do that, we'll talk a little bit. Actually, we'll knock onto the summary. Yep. We'll talk you through some of the things that exist when it comes to intellectual property, and especially focusing on patenting, because that's the way that the government is currently looking to incentivize people. Patent Box, you may have heard of it. It's been around for quite a long time now, but it's still massively underutilized. And now that the UK is kind of on its own little bit when it comes to Europe, it's even more important for the government to make sure these schemes work properly. So they go hand in hand with R&D tax, which a lot of people have heard of, but actually optimizing both R&D and the position when it comes to patenting and Patent Box is something that people don't always understand. So hopefully we'll give you a bit of a steer on that. So what I'll do is I'll pass over to Ash just to talk to you a little bit about the intellectual property landscape, give you a bit of a summary introduction, and then I'll pick up again in a moment.
Sure, thanks, Dom. So I'll cover a little bit about what IP is, just from a broad sense, the kind of IP rights available in the UK and globally, and what kind of creative works apply for which IP rights, and potentially just some benefits as to why you should potentially look at protecting your innovations through IP. And so, when I sort of think about IP, I think about sort of creations of the mind. Examples of IP or creations could include inventions, literary and artistic works, designs, brand names, logos, slogans even. And really the intellectual property system is designed by law to strike a balance between incentivizing people to innovate, and that's really by rewarding the creator for really creating their innovations, but also balancing that against fostering further innovation and allowing others to build on what's come before it. And there are two sides of the coin here, as you can imagine. So there's one side, which are the inventors who would want as much protection and as for as long as possible and for as much as possible. But then there's also the other side, which is everybody else who would want a slice of the inventor's cake. And really, IP rights tend to sort of reward creators for coming up with their inventions, spending all their hard cash and R&D time in what they do, but also for a small cost. In the UK and globally, there are a number of intellectual property rights that are available to creators, which you can see on this slide. They can be broken down really into two kind of categories. It's kind of an old-fashioned way to do it, but it works. And so on the left-hand side, there are industrial property, which focuses more on sort of technical works. So patents, which really are focused on things that sort of show how things work. Trademarks, as some people know, really cover brand names and design and logos. Designs cover pretty much what it says on the tin, how things look. But then on the other side, you've got copyright, which is more focused towards cultural works and artistic works. So as you can see on the slide, copyright protects literary works, artistic works, film, music, also includes broadcasts, sound recordings, and software code even. But all of these IP rights have different timescales and also different requirements, but it's always worth sort of looking into a bit further as to which ones may be applicable for you. But what it does show is that because it's so varied and so broad, every company would have a form of IP right within their business, whether that's in the form of a brand name or a new product or a trade secret. It's essential that you look within your business to really see the myriad of IP rights there, which ones may fit best for your business. And so why would you want to do this? I will just quickly skip on to this. Three main reasons. Protection, firstly. So it enables really the owner to stop others from commercially exploiting their invention, and again have a monopoly over the technology. For patents, it's really up to 20 years, but for other IP rights, it does vary. That protection then allows you to potentially commercialize your innovation and have it sort of clear path or clear route to commercialize your innovation. So, having that keep off the grass sign, this is my technology, not really yours, but then having the rights there in law to defend yourself, or even if however you want to use it, offensively move forward. But that commercialization can help you in product launch, it can help you in licensing negotiations, but it can also help you from an investment position, as I'm sure investors would want to know that the secret sauce that's within your company can't be taken away from your company and sort of stays within. But then there's also more there's tax relief also available. So the patent box is one example, very much a UK incentive, and it allows anybody that has a UK granted patent to reduce their corporation tax on profits related to patented technology. Sorry, I can get my words out there, from 19 to 10%. And that may change in the future, as I'm sure Rishi Sunak is looking to increase the corporation tax bill. So
yeah, I mean, that's already locked in. So, a couple of years, corporation tax will go up. And, the patent box, the way that patent box benefit works, reducing the corporation tax rate down to 10% is not planned to change. So the tax of that benefit will absolutely accelerate. And a lot of what we're talking about today, as Ash has just set the scene there, between things like trademark and copyright, which are more artistic in nature, we're really going to talk to you more around the patenting side, because that's the piece where you guys will most likely find some interesting points to work. So what we're going to do now is show you a really short animation, just a minute long, just to give you a very quick intro to really what Patent Box is. And the idea around this is just to very quickly explain what the scheme is from a commercial point of view, and how people might actually use it.
Patent Box is a tax incentive that rewards innovation and reduces your tax bill to 10%. It may be that the patented element is minor, like a single blade of grass. As innovation doesn't have to be rocket science to be patentable, you'll be surprised to know most patented inventions are just small technical improvements on existing products or processes. So where's your blade of grass?
So if you want to knock it on, Ash. So I think the the important thing about patents and Patent Box is that the government recognises that businesses that are innovative are likely to have something that can be patented, and they've got these incentives in place to help people invest in those. Really, it makes the UK a better place to be. Helps UK PLC on the international stage. And it also helps with what the government refers to as spillover effects, which is the upskilling of the workforce around interesting technologies and general sort of industrial improvement. So if you're in a business that is patenting, then being around that as an employee, as an investor, it's a good place to be. It shows you're in the right sort of field. So a couple of headlines or three on Patent Box, what it means. Well, we've told you it essentially reduces corporation tax by half, more so when the corporation tax increases in a couple of years' time. There's significant benefit already being taken in the UK, but it's across a very, very frighteningly small number of businesses, based on what we know and who we speak to about who have patents and who have the ability to get patents but don't, because they don't understand it as a commercial outcome. And it's a very, very murky world in terms of how you get a patent. It's attorney-led, which maybe isn't such a commercial lens at all. And it looked at how to protect the world and how to fight off all comers, as opposed to a commercial outcome there might be at the end, whether that's to have something good in the shop window, whether it's to upskill, or whether it's to take advantage of Patent Box. Those lenses are often not used with the patent attorney world. So over $1 billion of benefit taken in the last published year of stats from HMRC across just 1,000 businesses, which has grown nearly 20% on the previous year, and we expect it to grow again when the next set of stats come out, but it's still really small. It shouldn't be. The average benefit being taken is, is huge, a huge value there. And yes, there is a disproportionately large amount. I mean, if you look at fintech, over 350 million was taken from just 10 companies in fintech. So it is disproportionately weighted towards a large, but there is a significant number of smaller businesses now jumping on and taking advantage of the Patent Box scheme, as well they should, because they're highly innovative. And the SME side, the small to medium enterprise side of the Patent Box claim, is the growing part of the market, and it absolutely should be. Next, please, Ash. So a bit of info about criteria for a UK patent, and I'll let Ash cover off some more detail on the actual patent journey in a sec. But these are the three things that you're looking for if you're going down the route of trying to patent some software. But in the world of ESG and clean tech, green tech, it's not likely to always be software. It's likely to be more physical things. So really, you're looking for the first two. You're looking for novelty. So the invention must be new. Can't already be out there. It can't be any prior art. That's what we're looking for. That's what we do when we do our research into these. Is there anything that's already been published? And is someone already doing it? Because if they are, then you can't patent it. The other thing you've got to be able to do is show an inventive step. Okay, so the inventive step, it must be a non-obvious one. Okay, and there's loads of examples that we can give, industry specific, business specific. We'd be happy to talk about those, and we'll give you some a bit later. But there must be an inventive step. So it's got to be cool. It's got to be inventive. It's got to be novel. It's got to be new. And if you're in the software world, it has to show what they call a technical effect. Okay, so it must have a technical application or function. So a most obvious thing there would be use a piece of software to make something run faster, slower, more efficiently. So that's an example of how software. There are many other examples too. So that's really it. I mean, it's Ash. Anything to elaborate on that side?
Yeah, not too much, to be fair. Yeah, no, all good.
And so we'll nip on there and show you a bit about the patent timeline, because another thing that's really sort of misunderstood is how you get a patent. What do you do? What does it actually take? How much time, effort, and cost? Well, the answer on the cost and the time is If you're working with someone that charges you time and material, it will take you a lot of money and a lot of time. If you're working with somebody who's very commercially focused on just the right blade of grass or the right gem that you want to take forward, then actually the cost is much, much lower. The focus is narrower, and therefore the scope of the project is lower. And your chances of success are much higher. So this is a typical timeline, which Ash will just walk us through quick on how a patent application process would typically run.
Yeah, no problem. From the start, a patent application would typically be drafted, and that's really done by a patent attorney, which takes only a few weeks, but that's kind of where the journey starts. From there, you will file your invention at the respective patent office, whichever you choose. And then there will be something called a preliminary examination and search report, which gets released around 4 to 6 months. And that gives you a good idea as to what may come up in the further examination stage, whether you should continue with your application or not, whether there is any prior art out there in the field that might have a sort of a negative effect on either the novelty or the inventive step aspect of the examination stage. And it's really just a quick look-see, just to really understand whether you should progress with the application or not. After that, assuming that you want to continue, 12 months on, you would be looking at the deadline for foreign filing. So that's when you decide which countries you potentially want to file at, other than the UK, let's say. And that's a fairly fixed deadline. And then once you've picked those countries or decided that you want to continue just in the UK alone, the patent application will be published at around 18 months after the filing date. And it's kind of essential that the preliminary examination, the search report, is done before the publication, as then your invention is still secret and wouldn't be part of the prior art or public domain if you wanted to refile your application, or if anything sort of came up in that search report that was negative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, just before we go on, a really important thing to point out about this, guys, I'm conscious of time, is that where you start, the starting point about how far the scope of your patent is going to be is really important. A patent attorney, is essentially in the process. We're not patent attorneys. Patent attorneys we work with, we keep very, very focused and very, very narrow in terms of what they're looking at, so that this process is kept as slick as possible. It doesn't change the length. It still takes about 2 years for a patent to grant, but it can accelerate the process, and it can give you some very quick answers right the way through to patent granting, which is sort of 24 plus months. So I think, Ash, we'll nip onto the next slide. That'd be great.
Sure.
One more quick animation for you guys.
By harvesting your IP, you're tapping into a gold mine that's right underneath your nose. But before you tune out, IP actually does relate to you and isn't as complicated as you think. With a simple patent found in your R&D, you're taxed much less and will save thousands a year, every year, year after year. But businesses won't do that, because when people hear IP or patent box, they think this. They think jargon. They think academia. They think Bill the lawyer. And Bill the lawyer spends a lot of your time and your money going through every little detail and doesn't really have an incentive to get results quickly, or sometimes at all. That's why with GovGrant's IP Harvest, we've flipped the conversation. So when you think IP, you don't have to think this. You can just think this. Let me paint you a picture. No jargon, no academia. No massive bills from Bill, because we don't try to harvest the whole field. That's to say, we're not obsessed with creating an expensive, impenetrable shield around you. Just a single blade of grass. The secret ingredient, that small, shiny gem. Because, make no mistake, that single gem helps our clients save thousands every year, and could easily help you too. We are success aligned, so we work quickly and cost effectively. That's why we can give you a quick yes/no answer that's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. So get in touch and we can ask you a simple yes or no question that will let you know exactly what you can harvest from your R&D.
Thanks, Ash. So I think the thing to take away from that, guys, is that we help our clients get to the end of the journey quickly, and we start with the R&D. and we work out from there. So here's a case study for you, okay, around a tomato grower. So not the most obvious sort of clean tech business, but is one because they reuse a lot of what they do. A lot of the heat is naturally sourced, and the water is reused, and the whole project here is around hydroponics and some clever agri-tech. But a family business who commercially grows tomatoes, very large supplier, invest in a lot of new sites, anaerobic digestion sites, and other big greenhouses, obviously, as well. So the challenge for these guys was actually uncovering what their IP was. They knew they were doing something different because they knew their market very well, but they also thought that perhaps there's a way to get something from it. And so we helped them from beginning to end. Firstly, by giving some very, very timely advice, because there was going to be some prior art had we not got involved, but also to make sure that they got a very, very narrow patent in the right place based on the technologies they were using, and stand alongside them from a business that had no interest in patenting at all, no understanding of it, no appetite to get involved with lawyers. We did all of that for them, and we helped them all the way down the path to actually get a patent successfully granted. And it's now in a position where it's patent box ready. And so you can't just jump straight into patent box. You've got to do it when you're making profit and the right things. Given that these guys use their technology across everything, it's quite a good place for them. And we certainly help them. So the benefit is very fast, cost effective, approximately half the usual time to actually get to the end result from the patent side, because we kept it narrow and we were very focused on what we did. So we knew early on that it was going to be successful, or had a very good chance of being successful, rather, because you can't guarantee anything until it's done. The cost was kept absolutely rock bottom for the guys as well. So that's important too. Cost effective, value driven. If you want to nip it on, Ash, another good example as well is a case study around biofuel. So again, it's somebody that we know well, and huge biofuel refinery, other side of the scale really to tomato growing, but everything in the middle can sort of fall into this space. So obviously you're trying to drive the energy transition here. That's what the challenge is, and that's what the opportunity is for the business. But it's constantly innovating, constantly, really, really strong R&D process in the company, R&D tax claim. We optimized all of that for them, made sure that was going as well as it should do. And then it was compliant. We're putting our hands in the government's pockets here. We better be doing it properly. And compliance is king in everything we do. But standing alongside optimization, it's now in a position where there's significant patent opportunity in this space, and there's loads going on. So you look at the competitive landscape, you look over your shoulder, see what other people are doing. It's interesting to know that regardless. So patent landscaping piece, great bit of information for these guys, the opportunity to move forward into patenting as well, on top of the huge R&D benefits that are available to businesses like this, like yourselves, who are, or your portfolio companies as well, who are investing in these type of technologies. And Ash, I think onto the last case study you're going to give, which I think talks to somebody we've got in the room, part of the 26 for COP26, we hope, fraternity. So a bit of info about what you've seen on these guys.
Yeah, no problem. Main thing I really wanted to highlight here is that that Cheesecake Energy especially are looking to sort of invest in patent rights, and as you can see in the chart, for the last few years, from 2019 onwards, there's been a sort of increased investment in patent filings. And I think considering everything that we've been talking about today, this kind of sort of portfolio of a company could be, it could really benefit from patent box, and that's probably one of the things that should really be on the forefront of their minds. But also, perhaps there might be other companies, that are on this call that might be in a similar position, that may have filed patents or be looking to, or even have patents granted, that there may be some revenue or some benefit, pretty much around the corner.
Yeah, and it's a really good example here of an innovative business that's innovative, truly innovative in the nature of what it does, but also from the outside looking in. You can look at a business like Cheesecake and say that about it, because it's got this sort of patent portfolio. Now, this could be the tip of the iceberg, but I think outside that, you've got other opportunities here for everybody to explore, whether it's in one particular technology or whether it's in the process you use to actually drive that solution to your clients. there are opportunities to patent across, and being told what's right to look at and what's wrong is probably a good starting point. So that's the last example we wanted to give today, and we're conscious that we had 30 minutes to talk about. I think we're just nipping over, and so with that, we're quite happy to open up. If anybody's got any questions I want to ask quickly, again, we'll take those now. Similarly, we've got our two colleagues. Look any of us up. I'm certainly available to talk, but Mark and our ESG onboarding specialist, Colin Barr, is also available. Colin's up in Glasgow. So if there's an opportunity to speak and meet in person, certainly when it's coming up to COP26, if people are there physically, then we'd be more than happy to meet you. And also to talk on a one-to-one level, give you your own workshop about what is good in your business, potentially, what works in your industry, what other people are doing. And, really, are there any stones to turn over for your company that could perhaps move you towards patent box and 20 years of potential benefit from the patents you got there? Maybe even looking at optimizing your R&D tax, if that's something that the businesses do already. Higher capital returns for investors, and obviously optimizing your position when it comes to government incentives is important for any growing and innovative business. So at that, I can't see if we've got any questions because I'm on my phone, hence the technological issue I had on the way in. But I don't know, Rob, Robert, if there's any questions to ask at all.
Yeah, what's coming just on the link right now, and it's actually Paul Codd, who says we're not yet profitable. Can we roll forward the benefits of Patent Box by patenting now against future years' corporation tax? And if so, how many years forward?
Sure. So really good question. So Patent Box is absolutely contingent on a tax bill. So you do have to be profitable to take benefit from it. And actually choosing when to elect in, first of all, having something to patent is the first thing. Choosing when to elect in and then doing that properly, because there's doing Patent Box and there's doing it properly. Those things then need to be considered. But whatever happens, if the business has a desire to become profitable, then most do. Not everyone, but most do. Then the decision based on the patent timeline we spoke about before, if you don't already have patents in place, it's potentially a year or two away anyway. So you need to be talking today about what you're going to do then. And we're quite happy to play the long game with our clients because the long-term relationship is what it's all about. So you can't collect it up and then use it again in the future. But when you are turning profitable, you can then elect into the Patent Box at that time. Once you've elected in, you then claim for Patent Box benefit every year thereafter. So pressing go is as important as getting the patent. When you press go, timing is quite important.
Thanks, Dominic. I've got another one from Amitava Roy. Said they have 2 granted patents. How can they demonstrate their revenues are linked to the patents? And perhaps just a little bit more of an explanation about how to actually file a patent through Patent Box. That would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a webinar in itself. However, it genuinely is, and it's also quite an accounting treatment heavy conversation. But there are some new guidelines in from HMRC around how to do that. What you see is that we do see a number of Patent Box claims. We deliver 7-figure Patent Box claims to a few of our clients actually, and some smaller who get smaller benefit, but still is important to them. What's important to recognise is that there are very, very well used methodologies for streaming down revenue to show it how it attaches to the patent. We're experts at doing that. It's a separate conversation we're willing to have to tell you about how that works, perhaps after this.
Fantastic. And as a follow-on question from Amitava, really getting into the detail here. So, apart from selling patented equipment, can the income based on offering services using the know-how associated with the patents be eligible to reduce the corporate tax?
Yeah, so quite possibly. Know-how is a bit of a difficult one in itself, but the exact example about this is, an example of a car on a production line. You don't have to have the whole car patented in order to be able to take Patent Box benefit from it, but you can have a patent on a bolt on the engine that's intrinsic to its operation, or you can have a patent on the actual process on the manufacturing line. So if you've got a patent there, then everything that you do goes through it. Okay, so there's a case to talk about that. But again, it's technology specific and it's business specific. So we would need to get into the detail. A flippant answer, but actually you can get full benefit from Patent Box by just patenting a small element. And when it first came out, that was the biggest objection point from some of the other European countries around the UK Patent Box, but it still stands. So a very good point there. And but yeah, know-how slightly different, but actually touching a little part of the process and everything going through it. Yeah, plenty of examples of where that's worked.
If I can just read between the lines a little bit, I think also Amitava's question is partly about revenues from royalties on patents that royalties that are sold on.
Yep.
And I guess the answer to that is yes, you can get those revenues can be the patents filed in Patent Box can be used to reduce the corporation tax on that.
That's great. I'm conscious that not everybody wants to use the chat function to pose questions. Happy to take any questions from the floor. If you could turn on your camera, unmute your mic, tell us who you are and the company that you're with, that would be helpful. I'm just conscious that we have so many of you are continuing to hang on the call. Yeah, happy to go long late with this. While you're considering your questions, let me ask you one. I mean, we spent a lot of time talking about the upside potential around Patent Box. Is there any downside risk at all about getting into Patent Box? Any top tips? Anything that one should be aware of when executing on a claim?
Yeah, I mean, I think the important thing to recognise about Patent Box is that there are different ways of doing it. I think the first thing that you've got to understand is that it's an entitlement. So the government wants you to take this, and the reason that it's done through a tax function is that's how businesses interact with the government on a monetary level. But the risk is really not doing it properly in the first place, and then HMRC can ask questions about that. And that's obviously a problem, the time-consuming one itself. And optimizing it in a compliant way is important as well. There are lots of different ways to do things, but compliance is king when it comes to HMRC. So getting someone alongside you that knows what they're doing is quite important for that. And I think the risk is also that when you start with Patent Box, that what you're patenting runs away with itself. It's if it's too wide, because you don't have a patent already, you're trying to get one, you make the thing you're going after too big, it can become very expensive and time consuming. So keeping it narrow, keeping it focused on the right place, making sure that it is something that's going to be part of a profitable product line from the business or part of the main products and service that you offer is quite important.
Thank you for that, Dominic. Yara, you had unmuted. Did you wish to ask a question?
Yes. Hi, everybody. I want to say that I'm a clean tech scout. I represent myself like Silicon Valley community, and we're looking for to build something like an accelerator for clean tech. So I'm in the role of a scout right now, and we have about 12 projects. Some of them already considered by Solar Impulse. So some of them get approved. We have funds as well, and we are going to COP from one of the organizations. I'm going to probably, I don't have actually questions to GovGrant, but it's generally, I was already talking to Mark and some of your members as well, but it's just good to know. Thank you very much for the information. I'll probably meet with you later because I have to really talk to you, because I was in all of this process of, it's really hard to build it up and catch up with everything. So I have to meet with some of you, probably with Mark later on. So yeah, thank you very much.
That's great, Yara, and we're delighted to welcome you into the program. We have a strong desire to partner up with accelerators, incubators, and obviously funders. So lots to talk about. We will be at the COP One thing that I will put in the chat function is for those of you who may wish to at least register interest in attending the COP, whether it's physically or online, depending on how you want to manage your carbon footprint, or even if you want to just come to Glasgow because you've never been, you can register very quickly with a click. Are there any other questions from the floor? Anybody who want to ask anything? Just unmute. Show us your camera if you can, and feel free to ask away.
I think there is a.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Some of the projects actually belong to I would say Eastern European state institutions that were developing this, for example, like watersheds, cleaning system, and some kind of that. And we're facing now the challenge with the legislation, you know what I mean? Especially if it's possibly like Russia, Ukraine, Moldova. So we need a little bit of lawyer support. So we don't know how it gets in conflict with this. They patented on that side, but if it's possible to organize a consultation, maybe with Brown and Runic, I don't know, because for right now we can't. I mean, guide us, please. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
and
you.
I have to take a conversation offline, no problem at all. But for UK Patent Box, the patent needs to be granted in either the UK or Europe. There are a couple of exceptions to that, but the reason for it is that to patent outside of the UK or Europe, it's actually seen as a bit easier. So especially in America and other parts of the world, there aren't as many hoops to jump through for patents. We've lobbied along with a report we did in conjunction with the CBI to say, look, this is a bit too complicated. We'd like it to be easier. You know, we're certainly advocates for that. But UK and European registered patents will get you into Patent Box. And I think understanding for businesses what they should and could patent in the first place is fine. Our IP landscaping does that. So we've got internal and external landscaping. But of course, it all starts with the R&D normally. So with the R&D for R&D tax, if you've got a business registered here in the UK, you'll be claiming R&D tax credits already, probably, possibly not, because you've got a registered business here in the UK that's liable to pay corporation tax in the UK. And that shows the type of innovative activity you're doing. So if anybody wants to talk about those type of activities, got specific businesses in mind, or just some ideas you want to throw around, we're happy to have individual workshops, no problem at all.
Thank you.
That's great. Any last questions? We probably should start to wrap it up, although I don't want to put restrictions on Dominic, on you and the team. But any last questions?
I think there was one more from Amitava. I was going to suggest to Amitava, because it was another quite in-depth question. Maybe we could arrange a call and get some of our technicians to talk this through with you.
I think that's a great suggestion.
And by the way, I did notice that one or two people joined the call very late. And just to let you know, there is a recording, and I shall get that over to Robert, who will distribute it.
Good
Thank
stuff.
you, Mark.
I think we're okay, Robert. And if people want to follow up individually, we're here. Happy to speak again. We'll be in and around the event as well. So, you know, plenty of opportunities to speak. But hopefully that's given people a bit of a flavour for how patents could be used commercially, you know, in the UK. And if anybody's got any real sort of more detailed questions or any ideas to bounce off, theoretical or real, we're happy to do it after the event. No problem.
Well, that's fantastic, and it's great to have you know, sectors and area specialists such as GovGrant to give us you know, some guidance in this area. So really appreciate the contribution. I think I've seen some thumbs up on the chat. As Mark said, we'll get the recording, the replay of the entire program up on the Greenbecker's website. It'll probably be tomorrow. If we can get it up there sooner, we will, but we'll send you a notification just as soon as we've done that. And once again, I want to thank Dominic, Ash, Mark for their great contribution today. And thank you all for your attention, and onwards and upwards. We'll see you on something else. This is going to be a one-off. We will have something from one of our legal sponsors, Brown Rudnick, on term sheets and the ins and outs of term sheets in the next several weeks. You'll be hearing from us on that. So just watch out for the notification, and we'll see you in the market. Thanks very much again, everybody. And thank you for your, again, for attending this, Dominic, Mark, and Ash. It's been great. Thank you.
Pleasure to be. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.